Hello there, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am back with the blog hop for Brutus Monroe, and our challenge was Fabulous Foliage. So I am going to use this awesome stamp set called Feathered Friends. It was a part of the inspiration box a couple months ago, and it is available in the store. And as always, I will have everything that I'm using linked down below in the description box. But let's go ahead and get started with our stamping. So I'm going to grab out my Misti. This is a new to me tool. I have the mini Misti, but finally broke down and got the bigger one because this is just, I love the Misti itself so much that I wanted to get my hands on the bigger Misti. And so I've got a piece of Aqua pigment paper that I'm sticking inside of the Misti. I'm going to put that in this direction, and I'll stick my branch down. And then I will pick it up with the door, and I'm going to ink that up with some Raven Detail ink. I want to do some watercoloring, obviously, if I'm putting it on some aqua pigment paper, and in order to do that, I would want to use a waterproof ink, and the detail ink, the Raven Detail ink is waterproof as well as good for Copic coloring. Now I've flipped my paper around, and I am going to stamp that once again because I want to have two of those branches, and I do have to ink it up a couple times because there is a little bit of texture on that aqua pigment paper. And once I have that good and crisp, I will pull that out of the Misti and I will get to coloring. I've grabbed my Waffle Flower Water Media Mat, and I'm going to put some of the aqua pigments in each of those little wells. I love this media mat for that reason. Originally, when I first saw the media mat, I thought, oh boy, that looks kind of thick, and I thought it would get in the way of my wrists, but no, this thing is fabulous. I love it. So I've put a few colors down. I started off with some green, yellow, and brown that I've put in there, and I am going to get each of my leaves wet. I want to do a wet on wet technique. So I'm getting each of those wet, and I'm just dipping a little bit of the yellow on the tips of each of the leaves. And then I'm going to go back in and grab the green and kind of let the water move it around. So it's neat. So as it works, or as it sits there, the water kind of moves back and forth a little bit, and you can get a pretty neat effect if you've never tried that before. So I'll do that on all of the leaves, covering up most of that yellow just because, I mean, they're green leaves. I didn't want them to be all yellow. And then I will flip that over and I will work on the other side as well. I don't have a lot of water inside of the paintbrush that I'm using. These are the Arteza water brushes, and I really like these, but I don't have a lot of water in them, and I'm a little bit lazy at this point, so I just squirted some water on one of the wells of the media mat, and I'm grabbing it that way. So laziness at its finest. Instead of just getting up and walking over there and grabbing some more water, I'll just stick it on the media mat. And so I'm continuing to do what I was doing on the other branches, or the other branch. And when I am happy with that, I will move on to using some of the brown on the branches. And typically you would want to wait when you're painting. You'd want to wait for things to be dry, but everything is far enough away from each other that I'm not concerned about things leaking into one another. So the branches aren't really affecting those leaves too much, so it's not a big deal for me to just go ahead and paint even though those leaves are not dry. And as they're drying, I really like the leaves, but I thought I really wanted a little bit more punch of color. So I grabbed the blue-green aqua pigment, and these are all from Brutus Monroe, and I'm just sticking a little bit in one of the other wells. I'm going to stick that down at the bottom. Because I'm doing this on top of the green, it really amplifies that green, and it does bring out just a little hint of that blue and turquoise color, and it just looks so pretty on those leaves. And as that water dries even a little bit more, you will see a little bit more of an intensified color, the way they blend. It's nice. So I'm liking the turquoise going into the green, going into the yellow. And then I will start working on my background. So I'll take some of that, well, it was clean water, and I'll splatter some of the yellow aqua pigment, grab some of that green, do the same, grab even a little bit more water, and grab the blue-green, and do the same with that, because I just love splatter right now. I'm going to take out one of my circle nestabilities, one of the smaller ones, along with some of that paper. That's from the Dots and Stripes pattern paper. And I cut that out 3 times, and I'm going to arrange that onto the front of my card. But before I tack anything down, I'm going to heat set my branches so that I can fussy cut those out. And how fun, right? For my sentiment, I just grabbed that scrap of cardstock, the Aqua pigment paper that I had left over, and I stamp out the happy birthday from the set. And then I'll start adhering everything to the card. My card base is some lunch bag cardstock. This is from Brutus Monroe as well. It's another favorite of mine right now, and I had cut that down to 4 1/4 by 11 inches and scored it at 5 1/2 inches to make a top folding A2 size card. I covered my watercolor panel with some liquid glue, and then I just adhered that to the farthest left hand or right hand side to leave a little bit of that craft border. And now I'm adhering down my circles, which makes a nice little base. And then when I'm happy with that, I'm going to start thinking about adhering my branches. So I covered those with some foam tape all over the back. That first one has the entire back covered with foam tape for some dimension, and I will stick that down. And then the other branch only partially is covered with foam tape, and I am going to put some liquid glue on the parts that will overlap the other branch. And then I'll pull off that foam tape, or the release paper on that foam tape, and then I'll adhere that right down next to that branch. And there is foam tape on my sentiment as well, so I'll peel off the backing paper of that, and I'll go ahead and adhere that right down. And I'm eyeballing it here, folks, and it actually worked out okay. Surprise, surprise. I'm not done there. I will stamp the inside just using that same branch, but the embossing ink from Brutus Monroe. This is a great watermark ink, and that's really all I wanted, just a little bit of something on the inside, and that's going to finish off this card. So if you liked this card, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And head on over to my blog, because we are having a blog hop, and you can see what everybody else in the inspiration team did for this challenge. So yeah, leave a comment or leave any questions down below if you have any, and I would be happy to answer those. And as always, thank you so much for stopping by.